So I welcome you all to this first video, light mediated control of plant morphogenesis. So this is an overview because basically we'll be having several videos on this particular issue, particular topic. This one is just designed to give you an overview of the entire process. So it's going to be a very simple overview. First of all, we discuss morphogenesis. Morphogenesis is the process by which plant generates new tissues, new cells. It is a process that involves cell division and cell differentiation. Plants are basically photosynthetic organisms, and therefore their entire their entire life is centered around how to harvest light and how to make best use of light. Therefore, it also makes sense that light guide the process of morphogenesis itself within the plant. This is a very simple diagram that combines the processes of anabolism and catabolism. As we all understand very clearly, anabolic processes are processes by which new molecules are generated. The synthesis of molecules is involved in anabolism, and catabolism is the portion of metabolism where breakdown of these molecules takes place. Catabolism is often associated, particularly the oxidative part of catabolism is often associated with the release of energy. Photosynthesis per se is an anabolic process that converts inorganic carbon in the form of carbon dioxide into reduced sugar molecules, basically triose phosphates, that form the basic carbon skeleton for virtually every single molecule in the biosphere. Anabolic processes make use of these triose phosphates to link them together to synthesize massive, sometimes highly branched chains of carbon, to synthesize virtually every type of molecule that we know. Some part of this reduced carbon is also used. A significant part of this reduced carbon, in fact, is also oxidatively processed in the process of catabolism to release energy. And this energy is used to power the processes of anabolism. Now, why is photosynthesis kept out of anabolism if it is essentially an anabolic process? Because photosynthesis is a unique anabolic process that is only present and active in green plant cells. Even in the rest of the plant body, photosynthesis does not occur. And therefore, this extremely important process, which is basically responsible for all life on this planet, is a process that occurs only in green cells. But it is clear that life on this planet would not exist without photosynthesis. Therefore, it makes sense to optimize this process on which so much of the plant's life actually depends. What we are going to see in further discussions and further videos is basically the part of plant's life where plant tries to understand light, make sense of it, and use the sensing of light to guide two things principally. One, optimization of photosynthesis on which virtually everything else depends. And two, optimization of its own form or morphogenesis. The plant grows in a way and at times when it is most appropriate for it to grow. And therefore, these two processes are highly light guided processes. Now, this just shows, I'll go through this very quickly, shows a flower here, egg cell development, left hand side, pollen development on the right hand side, fertilization and seed development, leading to vegetative growth that gives rise to plant form. And at an appropriate juncture in the life of this plant, the plant transits into flowering. Now, this portion which is shown in a very small part of this diagram actually takes up almost 90 to 95% of the life of the plant. Most of the life of the plant is spent in generating structures, branches, leaves, gaining height, extending roots into the ground, basically to gather nutrients from the ground and to increase the photosynthetic area as much as possible, to enable it to be in a position to save enough photosynthate for the energy intensive process of flowering. Now, how much a plant will grow or what will be the pattern of growth, which season it is going to choose for flowering is a genetically determined or a hardwired response. But the process in which this hardwired response is affected or carried out, that is a response which is heavily guided by light sensors or photosensors. We know that there is an extended period of vegetative growth. During this extended period of vegetative growth, plant exhibits great degree of plasticity or able to adapt. And this adaptation is very necessary for the plant because the plant is a sessile organism. It cannot move from wherever it is growing. There's one thing that I would like to guide your attention to is that there are several environmental factors which are terribly important for the plant, such as water availability, availability of nutrients, temperature. Water availability is either there or it is not. So is the same is the thing with nutrients. Nutrients are either there in the soil or not. But can the plant actually sense or find out when water is going to be available? If it is a long day plant, it is going to grow in summers. It will have the necessary adaptations to grow through that intense heat period, which is quite dry. So the plant has the ability to adapt. That plasticity is there. Therefore, it will wait for the rains to come. Winter plants or short day plants will adapt in a different way. So all I want to impress upon you is that if plants can sense the length of day, which is basically light sensing, they can also sense which season is approaching. They can sense whether it is time to flower or not. And they can also make a fairly educated guess regarding the availability of water. Since nutrients are going to be dissolved in water and only from a liquid medium can they be taken up, therefore, unless and until the soil is deficient in a particular nutrient, the plant can also gauge when nutrients are going to be available and when they are going to be less available, relating it to the availability of water. So temperature, light availability, water availability, all these things can be tuned fairly well if light is sensed. This is the solar spectrum. This red part of the spectrum is what is available on the surface of the earth. And these blue patches are the absorptive patches for water vapor. So it means that the rest of the spectrum is basically available. And it is only this little red part of the spectrum between these two dashed lines, which is the visible part of the spectrum, which is enlarged here. This is just the visible part of the spectrum. And the spectrum below here, this thick line, this represents the action spectrum or the photosynthetic action spectrum of the plant, which just tells us what is the level of carbon fixation or of oxygen evolution at which wavelength of light. So relating wavelengths of light to the activity of photosynthesis gives us the action spectrum. And inside this action spectrum, you can see these little light spectra. These are basically the absorption spectra of chlorophyll and carotenoids. This is just the electron transport system. The only thing that I would like to draw your attention to is that these are the two photosystems, reaction centers of photosystems 2 and photosystem 1. Both of them are absorbing in the red region, P680 and P700. Now, briefly talking about the process of photosynthesis, process of photosynthesis basically rests on the ability of light to oxidize chlorophyll and to remove electrons from chlorophyll molecules. The electron transport after this is downhill and releases energy. This energy is conserved in the photosynthetic process. The energy that is required to remove an electron from a chlorophyll molecule is very high. Therefore, photochemistry or oxidation of chlorophyll is a very difficult process, and absorption of light by just one molecule of chlorophyll cannot accomplish this process. Therefore, accessory pigments, chlorophyll plus some carotenoid pigments, these serve to absorb energy and to transfer this energy to the reaction center chlorophyll. In the process of transferring this energy, energy is absorbed in the entire spectrum, barring that green window, which I just showed you in the previous slide. A lot of this blue region of the spectrum is involved, red region is involved, but even blue light that is absorbed by chlorophyll molecules, as it is transferred from chlorophyll to chlorophyll, it loses energy, gains wavelength, and therefore it is heavily redshifted by the time it reaches the reaction center. So what I mean to impress upon you is that sensing red light is extremely important. The second thing that I want you to note is that light quality all along the length of the plant is not the same. I just go forward a little bit and then come back to this slide once again. I'll give you an example of these two plants. These are growing far apart, and therefore each of them is getting the full spectrum of sunlight. In this second diagram, these are two plants, and between them, closely growing in this rather constricted area, is this third plant, which is not receiving direct sunlight, but is receiving sunlight which is being reflected off these larger plants. Now, this plant is in a very poor condition because it is basically getting this part of the spectrum, which is heavily depleted in the blue region, which essentially is a very active region of photosynthetically active radiation. It means that if that plant is able to sense that it is receiving spectrally different sunlight, and if it can induce morphogenesis within itself to grow taller, to compete favorably with its neighboring plants, then this is going to be terrific for this plant, because this would be a very favorable adaptation. So what needs to be sensed as far as light sensing is concerned? What needs to be sensed is spectral quality, as you just saw in the previous slide. What needs to be sensed is intensity, because if there is very high intensity of light, the photosynthetic system stands a chance of getting photo inhibited. Therefore, it needs to reduce the number of antenna chlorophyll. If it is sensing low sunlight, then it needs to increase the number of antenna chlorophyll to optimize photosynthesis and to increase absorption of light. Direction sensing is important because although this is not a very usual process, not a very commonly found process, but occasionally we might find that a certain plant experiences light coming more from one direction than another. Therefore, phototropism is strongly light guided, as you already know. And duration of light. This is one of the most important aspects that guides morphogenesis, because long day or long duration of illumination means that summers are approaching, and a plant should exercise its hardwired response of flowering in summers if it senses summers to approach. The same thing applies to short day plants or plants that have a habit of growing in winters. They should attune themselves to growing in the winter seasons. And this quickly is just something that I'm going to start um, the next presentation with. Just a selection of these photosystems, photosensors, phytochrome, cryptochrome, phototropin, etc., that are basically used by this plant system to sense light. So we end this particular presentation here. We'll continue from this point onwards in the next one.